Welcome to Inside Auto Podcast, where we feature everyone and anyone you'd want to talk to in and out of the automotive industry.
Hello, this is Ilana Shabtai, co-host of Inside Auto Podcast, where we interview top leaders, entrepreneurs, and GMs in and out of the automotive industry. With me is co-host Aaron Horowitz, who will introduce today's guest. But before we make the introduction, today's podcast is sponsored by AutoLeadStar. AutoLeadStar is pioneering marketing automation in the automotive industry with sophisticated machine learning that future-proofs a dealership's marketing operations and replaces traditional marketing methods.
Hey guys, we're so happy to be here today. Ilana, thank you very much. We're hosting Alex Lynn. Alex is the marketing mastermind over at Red McCombs Ford down in Texas. And Alex is someone who we really like to talk to because he has a lot of progressive ideas. He's been around the block in almost every aspect of the dealership world. We always get great insights, which is what we like to do here at Inside Auto. So Alex, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me on, guys.
Our pleasure. We're really excited to have you on. So Alex, it's interesting. He actually started as a porter at a Cadillac dealership. Is that right, Alex, in the 90s?
I did, yeah, 93, years ago when I looked a lot younger than this.
You've been, all of us. And you've been at Red McCombs since 2000, right?
Yes, yeah.
Got it. Okay, so you've really seen pretty much a transformation of the industry, which is, I think, always interesting to talk to people who've kind of gone through that and seen it from the ground up. But I was in chatting a little bit before the show, we understood that you had a pretty momentous event on the third day of your work at a dealership where you apparently totaled a brand new Cadillac. Is that correct?
Oh gosh, yeah, I did.
Tell us about that. We want to hear. We like the juicy stories from the early days. And how did you continue to work at a dealership after totaling their brand new Cadillac?
Yeah, I hope nobody from my old store is watching, but yeah, so it was the third day. So it's a Sewell store, and they had like a pickup and delivery service that they had. They would pick up customers and things like that. And I got hired as a porter, and they wouldn't let me go out. They're like, "Oh, hey, you got to kind of learn the ropes here." And then the third day, they're like, "Hey, why don't you take this Cadillac? You're going to go drop off a phone battery," which back in the day, that was like the big phone battery. It wasn't like, take a phone battery.
Yeah.
You're dropping off this big piece of machinery to a customer. And so I jumped in the car, head on down the road. I was in a 1991 Cadillac Brougham, and I had to take a left turn across the street. And some Honda coming up the road, Honda Accord. I just turned right in front of him, didn't see him, and just, they just drilled into the car, knocked me right into the side of the, I was turning into an apartment complex, knocked me right in the side of the apartment complex. And it was the funny part, this is where the funny part starts actually, is I get out of the car to go check on the driver. She's like 6 months pregnant. And I start freaking out because her car, this is a Cadillac Brougham. This thing's a tank. My car is a little bit dented on the side. Her car is in half, almost in half. This car is smashed. I see that she's pregnant. I start freaking out. I think I was 20 years old. And I start freaking out. We had some people call 911 and ambulance came, the cops came. And I jump back in the car, and she said she's okay. She's like, "Okay, I'm fine. Airbags saved her. She's okay." I get back in the car, the cops get there, they're checking on my car. And while I'm sitting in my car calling my work, the air conditioner compressor cracks. And the whole inside of the car fills up with this cool air from the air conditioner, which is all white, looks like white steam. So this white steam coming out everywhere. The cop's laughing at me. And I'm just sitting there trying not to cry. I'm just a young kid, just totaled this Cadillac. I'm like, ah. And so he's kind of laughing at me. The steam kind of blows away, and so I'm sitting there again, and I open the door to get out, and I'm stepping on a bumper, and it was her bumper. So the cop picks it up and kind of throws it in the street, and as he shuts the door to the Cadillac, all the fender skirts fall off at the same time like a cartoon. It's like, and he's laughing, the people that are there watching are laughing, and I'm this young kid that just my third day at work, I just crashed this car. I'm scared that I'm going to be paying for the rest of my life. And they're all just cracking up, laughing. And I'm sitting in the car, I have my head down like this. And I'm just my life is over. I'm going to be paying for this forever. I'm going to get fired. And then to make it worse, the cop's like, yeah, he goes, your car's still drivable. So he takes all the fender skirts and literally just opens the back door and just throws them in the back door.
Wow.
And
so you drive that thing back to the dealership.
Oh yeah. And he goes, you're good. We don't need a tow truck for you. Just go ahead and drive back to the dealership. And the front fender on the Cadillac was just barely touching the wheel. And every time you turn right, it would kind of make this grinding noise.
Oh.
And because it was like close to closing time, and the dealership, I mean, it was just this good old boys type dealership, a bunch of people that had like a lot of tenure there, and they all leave at 6. I mean, it was almost like the Truman Show, right? Where everybody leaves at their house at 8 a.m. and comes back at 6 p.m. I mean, same thing. When people leave, everybody left around 6. So it's right around 6 when I'm pulling in. People are kind of lined up on the drive because they've never had this big of an accident before at a store. And it's all right turns to get in the dealerships. It's like, hey, just go park it in the back and we'll send you for your drug test in the morning. It was miserable.
Wow, that is a good one.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Here's the funny part is, so I get home and they're like, well, actually before I left, they're like, well, you have to talk with the owner in the morning. I was like, all right. So I get there the next morning and this is kind of the good part, I guess. He's like, hey, he goes, I don't know what you did in these first 3 days of your job. He goes, but I've had several people come in here and tell me not to fire you. He's like, so get back there, go do whatever you're doing. He goes, you can't drive any of our cars for a year, but he goes, get back there and just keep doing what you're doing. I'm like, okay. So
wow.
I did. Yeah.
What a story. I mean, first of all, thank God everyone was okay, but like
yeah, for sure.
You know,
the lady had her baby a couple months later. We kept up with them. We sent her flowers and everything. And
Wow.
So that was kind of a good part of the story. And then the other kind of bonus to that, and I'm sorry, I'm kind of rattling on, but
that was great.
It's a great story.
The other bonus to that was, so because I got in that wreck and because I'd only been there for a couple of days, they kicked me off the insurance for the store. So I was like, well, I'm a porter. Like my job is to move cars back and front and help people out. And they said, well, you can move cars wherever you want. You just cannot leave the dealership. So, you know, most of the porters would go out and deliver cars and stuff like that. So I was always there. Now, the good part about that was if any department need anything, they're like, hey, send Alex. So I learned parts. I learned body shop. I learned make ready. I mean, I learned every bit and piece of that dealership that I could. And I mean, it was really, really helpful for me because I got to learn everything. I got to know everybody. And, you know, for a whole year, I couldn't leave. So I was stuck at the store. Everybody knew who I was. Everybody knew that if they called on me, that I was going to be there because I couldn't go anywhere else.
Because you couldn't go anywhere.
So it was really helpful.
That's also an awesome story of leadership, I think, from the owner's perspective, just sort of, you know, not reacting impulsively in the moment and trying to actually, you know, look at you and your potential and not, you know, kicking you out for a mistake like that. I think that's
Yeah, it was
awesome.
It was nice.
Yeah.
Not the best way I wanted to start my job, but I mean,
wow.
it was helpful.
That is unbelievable. And so since then you've been in auto.
Yep. So I've been in auto since then. Yeah. I worked there for 6 years, left, went to in 2000, started with McCombs, and I've been there ever since.
Got it. Wow. Unbelievable. Great story to kick that off. We like the good stories we get.
It was like, it reminds me of the first time I went on my, on a business trip with Auto Lead Star. I was like under 25 too. So it was like to rent a car was so expensive. And my first car accident ever was when I was driving that car in Arizona.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. What dealership? You were leaving some dealership?
I was leaving, oh my God, I don't remember which dealership, but it was all those dealerships on Camelback in Arizona, in Phoenix. And it was like the first time I had ever walked into a dealership. We had just pivoted to automotive, and I think I was very overwhelmed.
Well,
and
I also remember when we were at Jeff Kirshner's store in
I was also thinking about that.
Yeah, in Hagerstown, and it was didn't you drive that Mercedes? And
Yes, we went to visit Jeff Kirshner, who's the internet director at Mercedes-Benz of Hagerstown, who also owns and founded Dealer Refresh. But he was like, let's go test drive a Mercedes-Benz. And me and Aaron, who are not I am not a car person, which is funny because we're in the automotive industry, but I don't know anything about cars. And I was like, oh, my first time driving a Mercedes-Benz. Yeah. And I'm like driving so slowly. Arnold's in the back and Jeff is next to me. And Jeff is like, you could pick up the pace. And I was like, no, I don't want to ruin the car.
You're driving like 15 miles an hour.
I was driving literally like 15 miles an hour. And he's like, you're going to get a ticket for driving slowly. That was funny.
My favorite old lady driving. No, she's actually like 20, 25.
My favorite test drive was once I was at a construction dealership, construction heavy equipment store, and they let me go out back and drive like those big rock trucks and like Maruka, like tracked load. I mean, that was pretty awesome. That was really a cool experience.
That's cool.
Yeah, those were unbelievable. Different experience.
Those ones with the big, massive tires that look like they're like 8 feet high.
You're like 20 feet up on the above the ground. It's insane, and they can go over. These things can go over anything. So it actually is like driving a tank. I think it's probably the same chassis. It's like the real deal.
That's a little
very cool.
Right?
Wait, what was that?
I said that's empowering, right?
Oh, it was fun. I had a great time. Yeah. So Alex, when you were in, by the way, so just because we're having so much fun with non-actual marketing related things, when you were in, I saw you also mentioned that you like to free dive, which I find very cool. And where do you do that?
So I do that a lot of lakes and rivers all around Texas. And
so are you into that like air packing thing where you like breathe in a huge amount of air before you go down and like get a very long I've just seen it like I've read about it on the web. Like people can stay underwater for obscene amounts of time, right? Because
I'm not that guy. I mean, I'm probably a little over a minute, on good days. I'm a little old. Back when I was younger, I'd probably go closer to 2 minutes, but now I'm a little over a minute.
Do you know what I'm talking about though?
Oh yeah, I've seen some of those videos where those guys just do that and they go down just these insane depths.
Yeah, it's insane. Yeah, it's absolutely insane.
Yeah. But no, I do like local areas, lakes, rivers and stuff. Most of it's just kind of, just treasure diving, stuff like that. Just go checking out things. Cool
hobby. People that we've interviewed, Alana, have great hobbies.
Yeah.
It makes me want to go have a better hobby.
Extreme mountain biking.
Yeah. Like whoever would have thought David Kane is doing extreme mountain biking. That's like,
Yeah, I could talk to you guys for hours on free diving. My funnest thing was I had a quick side story. I'll tell you this, but I don't want to spend all day talking about stuff besides auto. But I show up to this river one time to go diving, and I do a lot of rapids. I do a lot of diving in the rapids too, just to see what people lose and stuff in there. And we get there, there's this big crowd on the side of the river, and I'm like, what are they doing? And they're all gathered around this area that's probably around 20 feet. And so we're just, all use mask and snorkel. I go with a buddy of mine, and this guy was kind of following us as we go down the river, and he stops us and he's like, hey, he goes, some guy went tubing and lost his prosthetic leg. He's got a titanium leg. He lost it. And we're like, okay, he lost his leg. Like, yeah. So, if you find it, there's a big reward. And we're going down. And since I do a lot of free diving, I would dive to the bottom of the end of the rapids and then kind of crawl up the rocks underwater and then kind of come up and then float back and kind of just keep doing that over and over again just to, check things out. And sure enough, we get in there. The leg never made it to the deep part where they were looking. It was still in the rapids. We found it in the rapids. And it was insane. I brought it up. It scared the heck out of me because I dove in, like the prosthetic legs, it's just like a titanium piece, but at the bottom it has that like fake looking foot. And that's what I saw first underwater.
Oh, man. Intense.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I grabbed it and threw it up on shore. And, I'm married. I have 3 kids. So it's not like I have a lot of time when I want to do these things because I don't take my kids with me for obvious reasons. But, so I don't have a lot of time to like, let me wait on shore for this guy to come in and give me a reward. I didn't care about that. I'm like, hey, here you go. So I threw it up on shore and the guy's like, oh, he's going to come back for a reward. I was like, well, tell him if I ever lose my leg, then he owes me one. And I just kept on swimming.
That's amazing. Crazy, that's a great story.
Yeah.
I've never heard of free diving in rapids. That seems insane. But that's pretty cool. Very, very cool. Wait, so when it comes to like finding time for this stuff, tell me about what life is like at the dealership. Like what is life like at Red McCombs if you're running the digital marketing, meaning just the basics. It's just interesting to people. What's your schedule? Like, what's your rhythm? How do How do you kind of interface with the store? Give us kind of that experience of like a day in the life of you there in that store.
Yeah, sure. So I get to the store probably around anywhere between 7:45, 8 o'clock. Store opens up at 8:30. And typical sales staff, everybody gets there. Our internet team will kind of start wheeling in about 8 o'clock because we open up leads at 8. But most everybody gets around 8:30, 9 o'clock.
And that's the internet team. Is that like a formal BDC, or it's internet?
No,
more
that's
internet sales?
actually sales internet team. So our BDC is just kind of back up to the sales team.
Got it.
But yeah, I get around 8. Start going through my emails, I had kind of, like you said, my rhythm of, check leads, check what happened yesterday, start running some reports real quick, and then go through the day. I mean, I'm there till probably 6:30, 7 o'clock at night.
What are your top of the morning reports? What do those look like?
So top of the morning reports for me are, what leads came in overnight, looking at appointments for the store, obviously sales volume for the store, and just kind of diving into the leads that have not been answered yet, the ones in the morning, and just going through them. And then of course my emails and everything else. But
and Alex, do you use are you mainly drawing reports from CRM, or do you use like a tool that you've built out or a custom infrastructure? What's your approach to that?
Yeah, I wish I had some awesome deal to tell you, but no, it's just CRM reports. Yeah.
You pull CRM.
Yeah, I just pull straight from the CRM. I have my own kind of reports that I've built over the years for the internet team, for the store. And so we take some reports from the CRM and then just kind of modify those to the reports we have, because, the CRM is good, but they don't have like a sales tracking that you can do. So we have a tracking report that we drop into an Excel spreadsheet, and everything kind of formulates, and we spread it out to the team.
Very nice. Yeah, it's so interesting, like how many dealers, I mean, almost, it feels like every dealer I speak with that's become successful in digital has over the years built out their own internal technologies, even if it's just a spreadsheet with macros and formulas, because it just feels like there's a gap between what they need and what they can get. And, everyone's kind of filled in their own way. And some of the folks we've interviewed have done some really interesting things when it comes to how they build out the reports. But there's clearly some sort of gap there that's not yet been resolved.
Yeah, that's good. I would agree with you. I think every time we go to these like digital dealers from other places, it's like you have these roundtable discussions. That's kind of one of the good ones to talk about is what type of reports you use, what type of reports have you built? Because you're right. I mean, we all kind of use our own thing. So.
Do you know the Autobahn Group in Dallas Fort Worth? Have you ever heard of them? I think right. I think it's Dallas, right, Ilana?
Yeah, and they're in Fort Worth.
Fort Worth, right? So there's a guy there named Derek who also has been kind of similar. Like he showed up as the internet was emerging, and basically just like stumbled into being an internet guy. But he's done some cool things with this new tool called Airtable, which is it's like an Excel spreadsheet on steroids. It gives you like databasing abilities. I was just very interested to see what he's built out with that. And I don't know, it just seems like everyone has their tools. Yeah, I can imagine. Actually, that reminds me that we met you at Digital Dealer. Zach from FNC introduced us to you and Brittany at the White Party, which was a very important event for us because it's one of our first early auto events.
Yeah, internally we call it our coming out party.
Yeah, that was our coming out party. We pivoted away from like just general market SMB fully into auto. And like somehow stumbled into this White Party thing. I don't know, who was it? Was Seren working for?
Yeah, we can thank Seren Isseldak, who used to work.
Yeah, so we were in Digital Dealer then, and we like got somehow we like were sponsoring like the floor of the White Party. So it was like this crazy fun event. But a lot of the people we met at that event we're still friends with, which is
I was wondering why you guys kept referring it. It's like every time you say it, it's like the White Party.
Yeah,
it was like called the White Party.
Really
that was what they called it.
Big deal.
We were all laughing.
For automotive, it's like another day. It's just like another day in Vegas.
And we're not like the most stylish company when it comes to like fashion. So we were all like, wait, so we have to go buy white clothes? Like, what is that even? How do you do that? Like, what do you wear? So.
Yeah, because nobody planned for that. Everybody comes to digital. Oh yeah, I got a white outfit. Sure.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. No, so that was a good memory. But and then it's interesting, like looking at it where you're at now. If you go back to when you started at Red McCombs in the year 2000. And even kind of in your prior dealership experiences in the late 90s, when did when did the ownership or leadership realize that digital is like a real thing, and it was a real thing that they have to put staff resources behind? Like when did the realization really materialize and become concrete, would you say?
Yeah, concrete for us, we had an internet team, man, I think it was 02, 03 maybe.
And was that, how did that come about? Like, how did that vision happen? Was that before others? Was that after others? Were you following? Like, what happened there?
Yeah, I mean, we were, we had, we had two guys on our staff that, were just kind of rock stars at it, Brad Weaver and Tony Remus. And
Tony Remus was at the dealership? I didn't know that.
He wasn't at the dealership level, he was at the corporate level, but they were kind of spearheading the internet department. And we thought that we were just kind of on the same level with every other store. And when I say we, I mean we as internet sales, internet directors, until we got to the first digital dealer and we sat on the round tables and we started talking about what we were doing, and everybody else, and not everybody else, but there were a couple of new people there that, they were a little behind, where we were. And I sound so conceited saying that, I mean, to edit that, but still it was interesting to see how far those guys pushed us, because they really pushed us. And it was really helpful for me, because it gave me a kind of, like you said, it gave me a good basis for how am I supposed to be as a manager moving forward. So.
Got it. And I guess if you had to like describe the major shift between the way you think about digital marketing now and digital marketing in its earlier phases, like what would you describe that as?
Oh man, I don't know.
Because you've kind of seen its evolution, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And like, do you, or have you seen this evolution? Meaning, think even like, I don't know, 8 years ago compared to now, 6, 7 years ago, like where was your mind? What were your concerns? And what were sort of the ecosystem you were operating in versus now? I mean, some things dealers talk about a lot is like, first they had their identity on the web, and then there was sort of the emergence of the kind of aggregate, the classified listing sites. Things went that direction. Now things are moving back to direct. And there's a lot of, it seems like there's this sense that dealers have that there's, there's been different phases, I guess, in the evolution of internet.
Yeah. And I think when it first came out, you got a lot of the managers, you got a lot of what you would consider like old car dogs, or like, oh, it's just another phone up. Like, let's get that customer in. And now it's definitely evolved into, we're all in with internet. Like we actually talk about our store when we have our meetings. We talk about, hey, our store we're an internet and appointment store. We don't talk about, hey, we're an up store, we're this. Like, we're an internet and appointment store. That's pretty much how we have, labeled ourselves. And that's where we get probably 99% of our business now. It's internet and appointments. You have a few walk-ins here and there, but everything else is, it's all internet.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, and I think in general, the way things have changed, you had this like major shift from even recently. And this is, I think, like what we think about a lot is that if you look at what the ad networks or what the web makes available for you now compared to even 3-4 years ago, there's just so much opportunity to get focused on a specific offer. In some ways, what's happening is finally digital, if you do it right now with automation and whatnot, you kind of remove the friction of digital, and you could just get down to like figuring out what someone wants and showing them the thing that they want. And that's like what you could always do back in the old days, right? When people would visit 7 stores before buying a Ford, you had a crack at them. And if you were a good salesperson, they walked in the door, you knew how to build that experience and get them to the car that they wanted. Now that people are starting to shopping online and kind of almost not quite terminating it online, but almost terminating online and only going to 1 or 2 stores. And with COVID, even, it's 1, let's say, you really just need to get the digital to the place where it's seamless and specific. Otherwise you're just doing billboards on the internet, which isn't helpful anymore, So I think that's like something that we're seeing now is like just the specificity that is required is pretty exciting, powerful. It's good for the shopper, good for the stores. But if I was going to ask you like, pound for pound right now or dollar for dollar, like when you're thinking about your budgets and stuff like that, where do you think you're seeing the most ROI in terms of investment right now? And let's even say the last 3 months, because the world's really changed, but like last 3 months, if it was your last $1,000, or let's say your last $10,000, where would you put it right now if you had to generate some sales?
I'd probably put it, definitely in search.
Search.
Sure. Yeah. SEM.
We've seen a lot of people going towards social. Has that been like, have you seen differently?
No, we've done some social as well. You've got everybody shopping online. And you want to be kind of at the top of that when it comes to that. So.
And are you seeing demand holding up even as like there was a kind of initial pent up demand was satisfied? Are you still seeing demand?
Yeah. You've got demand because of inventory as well. That's obviously pushes demand for sure. When everything started, everybody's worried that, okay, the first thing that we looked at as store was, okay, how long can we go with current inventory right now? We put a plan in place. And
where were you guys? Were you how were you guys? Like, what was your supply?
We were worried. We were probably sitting on maybe almost 2.5 months worth of cars, 2.5 months supply. And, we were worried.
And on some models, I assume right now there's a waiting list.
No, we're back up. Yeah, we're close. We got really close to that for sure. Super Duty's got limited for sure.
Oh, so you guys got inventory now. You got new vehicles.
Yeah, we have cars. We have trucks coming back in, so we're okay for right now.
That's good.
Whatever okay is these days.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Got it. All right, very good.
We're in the car business, so we're not allowed to say okay. We're never satisfied. So.
No, it's the 22nd of the month. You're not satisfied at all.
For sure.
Everything's horrible right now.
That's right. Terrible. Sell some more cars.
It's terrible. Yeah. Great. And then in terms of again, these are obviously there's no right answer to this stuff, but if you're peeking around the corner as to where things are going, do you have any kind of ideas or kind of opinions you've developed about what's the next big thing, or what's the most important thing to be focusing on when you think about the next couple of years of the store? And it's
we've actually had that conversation, and it's the big thing that we keep telling our staff is that this is you kind of use those tag phrases, right? This is the new norm. I hear a lot of people saying, oh well, January it's going to change, or March it's going to change, and we've kind of you start developing these processes and going. I think, and this is just my personal opinion, customers like this. I talked to a guy on the phone just this morning, and talking about hey, we're going to take a car at your house, and these normally is what high-end stores were doing. High-end stores, hey, we're going to take a car out to you, we're going to deliver everything out to you, and now, we're a Ford store. That's what we do. That's our life.
Yeah.
And to me, talking about moving forward, that's just the way it is now. That's the way we're going to be. That's the type of store we're going to be. So that's cool. Moving forward for us, that's number one is how do we just, continue to perfect that and then grow off of that.
Wait, and do you consider yourself are you really into cars? Is that your?
No, I'm not really that.
Totals.
Yeah.
No, I love it. It's just interesting to know, so many, definitely when you get to the tech side, people are more into tech or into, I don't know, other things. But when you talk to folks at dealerships, it's amazing to find how many people are not actually car guys. There's a lot, there's a whole subculture of people who are just they like the challenge of trying to figure out how to make it work.
Yeah. And I would probably put myself in that category. I my thing, I guess, coming from when I transferred from a Cadillac store, my biggest deal was how do I wow everybody? And that's kind of still the same thing for my team. It's I want my team to wow everybody.
That's awesome.
If they can do that, and that's kind of our store culture is hey, take the customer. How can we get the customer the next step, whatever the next step is, and move them on down the line so we can do everything, whether it's digitally or if they want to come in the store.
Fantastic.
Whatever. So I'm not one of those. My parts guy, we had a couple of guys here that they'll tell you what the engine was on this, blah 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 back then, whatever. I'm not that guy.
Yeah. All right, great. Hey, listen, It's good. Those are good words to end on, just wowing people and having that satisfaction at the end of the day that you did all you could to deliver on what you're doing. So. We very much appreciated this. This was a really fun conversation. We covered titanium legs lost in rapids that had to be recovered by freedivers. We covered the insides of what air conditioner systems do when you're in a crash in the 1990s. I mean,
Yeah,
we were all
right.
over the place into like what digital marketing is doing and whatnot. So that is really fun for us. Alex, thank you very much. We really enjoyed it, and we hope to have you on again. All right.
Thanks for having me, guys.
You a great end of September and October.
All right.
Thanks, Alex.
Thanks so much. All right, y'all be safe.
You too.
Thanks for listening to Inside Auto Podcast. Check out our other episodes with top entrepreneurs and industry leaders.